The Sinharaja Forest Reserve, the best-known rainforest in Sri Lanka, is well worth a visit from anyone who is interested in the natural resources of this country. It has been declared a World Heritage Site, because of its unique and high biodiversity. Sinharaja is also a man and biosphere forest reserve, and a large proportion of the flora in this forest is endemic to the country. Some species are endemic to the Sinharaja forest itself. Sinharaja also has many species of endemic fauna. Situated in the southwest lowland wet zone of Sri Lanka and falling into the Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces, Sinharaja is surrounded by Napuladola, Koskilani Gunga, Mahadola, Chingunga, the Kalukandawa Ella, Kudawa Gunga, Beverly Tea Estate, and the Nuwakanda. As a rainforest with its rich and complex diversity of vegetation, Sinharaja provides habitats for a variety of animals. Although dependent on plants for food, animals also carry out certain functions vital to the growth of some plants. Pollination and seed dispersal are two of these. Sinharaja has two main forest types. One is the dipterocarpus forests that occur in the valleys and on their lower slopes. Here almost pure stands of hora and buhora can be. The other forest type is the secondary forest and scrub that now occurs where the original forest cover has been removed by shifting cultivation or other tree removal operations. In other places, rubber and tea plantations have replaced the forest. Maswaduna, Sharia, forest, the climax vegetation over most of the reserve, covers the middle and upper slopes above 500 meters. Sinharaja has the benefit of both monsoons. Rainfalls are regular during the southwest monsoons, May to July, the northeast monsoons, and November to January, except February when the conditions are dry. An International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources technical evaluation of Sinharaja states that Sinharaja is the last extensive primary lowland tropical rainforest in Sri Lanka. It holds a large number of endemic species of plants and animals, and a variety of plants of known benefit to man. Sinharaja Forest Reserve is the last viable remnant of Sri Lanka's tropical lowland rainforest. Over 60% of the trees are endemic and many of these are rare, and there are 21 endemic bird species, and a number of rare insects, reptiles and amphibians. Endemism is high, particularly for birds, with 19 of 21 species endemic to Sri Lanka present. Endemism among mammals and butterflies is also greater than 50%. There is evidence that there have been elephants in parts of the Sinharaja and its surrounding forests. However, their numbers have gone down over time and now there are only a few animals on the Rakwana side of Sinharaja, especially in the Handapanela, Thanamala and Deep Dune areas. Before the logging project started in 1971, elephants were common in the periphery of the forest. They have not been seen in the western sector since 1974. The other large mammals that are found in Sinharaja are the leopard, panther pardus, somber, fishing cat, rusty spotted cat, barking deer, mouse deer, jackal and wild boar. The leopard is rarely seen but there is evidence of its presence through its scats. What is interesting is that the leopard here seems to eat crabs and small mollusks as well. There are no spotted deer, which is one of its favorite prey, at this elevation. Therefore the adaptation to food resources that are available. The purple-faced langur is endemic. The only other primate found is the toque or rhesus monkey, but it is seen mostly in the peripheral forests. Of the smaller mammals, there are a number of species in Sinharaja. The two small squirrels, one giant squirrel, Ratnafamacarora, the smaller flying squirrel, the badger mongoose, the brown mongoose, the ring-tailed civet, the golden palm civet, and the porcupine. The otter is also found in Sinharaja. There are also reports of sightings of the pangolin, but it is rare. There are a number of rats, the bandicoot, shrews, and bats inhabiting this rainforest. The larger mammals that are threatened are the leopard and the elephant. The present status of the leopard in Sinharaja has not been studied closely and therefore the population of leopards is not known. Even the exact population of elephants in Sinharaja is not known. Since it is a large animal and quite visible, it seems that only a few animals are left from the large number reported earlier. Sinharaja hosts a variety of birds. Over 147 species have been recorded. This variety of species is possible because of the availability of specific habitats that range from 300 to 1500 meters. There are many endemic birds such as Ceylon lorikeet, large parakeet, Ceylon jungle fowl, spur fowl, Ceylon white-headed starling, Ceylon wood pigeon, grey hornbill, spotted winged thrush, rufous babbler, brown-capped babbler, ashy-headed laughing thrush, Ceylon blue magpie, white-headed starling, green-billed cuckoo, red-faced malkoa, Ceylon hillmynah or grackle, and Legg's flower pecker are some of the endemic birds found at Sinharaja. The Serendipscops owl was discovered for the first time in 2001 by Deepal Warakagoda and Nandasan in the Sinharaja forest. Of interest is the presence of Sri Lanka broad-billed roller, sightings of which have decreased markedly in recent years. A regular sight at Sinharaja is the flocks of birds of mixed species that go through the forest. It is a mutual relationship observed among birds, a method by which they improve the availability of feed. The food of one species does not necessarily interest another. Another interesting feature is that there are different groupings of bird species foraging at the different levels of the forest. There are different species moving in the canopy, subcanopy, undergrowth, and forest floor. A team from Massachusetts, Colombo, and Sabaragamuwad universities studied this aspect of bird activity. Sinharaja has a complex vegetation structure. This is the same as in an intricate rainforest ecosystem. At first glance, the forest seems to be a chaotic muddle of vegetation. However, a closer look reveals that the vegetation can be categorized on the basis of several factors such as life forms, strata or groups of plants living under similar conditions of light and moisture, with each group having its own lifestyle. There are many layers of the forest: the canopy, subcanopy, understory, shrub layer, and ground layer. Then there are the vegetation types like stranglers, epiphytes, parasites, and saprophytes. Emergents are trees that grow above the canopy layer of the forest. The trees that form the canopy, or top layer of trees, usually reach heights of around 30 to 45 meters. The canopy is well packed with tree crowns and is usually devoid of emergent trees. The second layer of trees is the understory, which consists of trees that are not so tall. The shrubs make up the third layer of the complex forest vegetation. Most plants can stand on their own in that they can get their nutrition made up of minerals from the soil and produce food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide from the air. This process is called photosynthesis. There are other plants that cannot stand on their own and are dependent on other hosts for food, water, or support, like climbers, epiphytes, and parasites. The plants could either be photosynthetic, thus nutritionally self-sufficient, or non-photosynthetic like the saprophytes. Some, on the other hand, are semi or totally parasitic. Semi-parasites take water from host plants, that is Loranthus, Pilila and Sinhala, while full parasites absorb both water and nutrients, Cuscuta, Agamula nathiwal and Sinhala. Epiphytes, orchids, for example, are plants that cannot stand by themselves but are not dependent on the host plant for their food. The real objective of an epiphyte is to climb onto a big tree and get more sunlight for food production. Parasites need a host plant and take their food off the host plant as well. Saprophytes are those types of plants that live on the juices of dead plant and animal matter. Stranglers are plants that start off being dependent on other plants for support but later establish their own support and tend to be detrimental to the original host. A good example is, though not from Sinharaja, the nuga, which starts off as an epiphyte on a host plant but grows steadily and completely chokes up the host plant. It grows into a massive tree, leaving no trace or evidence of what was its host plant. And our rainforest vines too can be strangulars. The plants could also represent several stages of maturity. Examples are seedlings, saplings, poles, etc. As expected, the variety of combinations that could exist in the forest can be enormous. These are the factors that form the basis of the vegetation structure of the forest. A tree-fall gap is a gap arising in the canopy due to the collapsing of an old tree. The thick canopy allows minimum sunlight to reach the ground level. Therefore, seedlings and saplings wait for years on the forest floor before a gap appears. The moment it occurs, a horde of young plants shoots up to take their place in the canopy. Tree-fall gaps in Sinharaja have been studied by Yale University. A variety of plants of known benefits to man are present in Sinharaja. One of which is the palm kachal, Caryata urans, used to get jaggery, which is a substitute for sugar used widely in areas where this tree grows. Mule, Calamus sp, is used in the cane industry. Cardamom spice, Sharia sp. For flour, Dun Sharia sp. And Winnow for medicinal purposes, are used intensively by villagers. A list of 202 plants, together with their endemicity and uses, has been drawn up. Nimal Savitri Gunatik in their many years of research in Sinharaja have found that of Sri Lanka's 830 endemic species, 217 trees and woody climbers are found in the lowland wet zone. Of these, 139, 64%, have been recorded in Sinharaja, 16 of which are considered to be rare. Other rare endemics are the Pomlock Secaucus rupicola and Atalantia rotundifolia, the latter being restricted to Sinhagala at 742 meters. Of 217 recorded species of trees and woody climbers, 40% have low population densities and 43% have restricted distributions, rendering them vulnerable to further encroachments into the reserve. In 1968, a government directive was issued to extract timber for the plywood sawmill and chipwood complex established at Kosgama. Logging was carried out from 1971 until 1977, when logging was banned, largely due to public pressure brought about by the Wildlife and Nature Protection Society, which played a leading role in the protests and objections to this indiscriminate logging of a very important and valuable natural resource. At present, the reserve has 6,500 to 7,000 hectares of unlogged forest. Since 1977, the Forest Department has given high priority to protecting the reserve and in 1978 began planting along the periphery to establish a live boundary. More recently, betel nut palm has been used for this purpose. The most important traditional minor forest products used are kachal, cane and to a lesser degree medicinal plants. These activities have now been restricted to forests surrounding the Sinharaja Reserve. Illicit gem mining was once a serious problem in eastern parts of the reserve and was organized mostly by wealthy merchants from outside the Sinharaja region. This activity, though reduced, now has to be stopped completely. The lack of a uniform land use policy and the multiplicity of governmental and semi-governmental agencies involved in land use planning in Sri Lanka are the major administrative constraints in evolving a suitable protection plan for Sinharaja. For the moment, transactions related to lands surrounding the reserve are suspended under presidential order until such time as the conservation plan for the reserve is ready for implementation.